Tom.
Welcome to a brand new week. On Monday, the last day that I normally do these. I've done this twice in a row, but I kind of have good reason for it. Earlier last week, my mother called me and said that Bear, my dog lives with my parents in Connecticut, wasn't feeling well, and that she was like on the cusp of kidney failure, and that like they were going to have to put her down fairly soon. She at the time she seemed comfortable. You know, they're giving her like medication to help like dull the pain and like, you know, help, you know, keep things like working for her. And my hope was like my hope was that I'd be able to get to see her at least one more time before then. However, the following morning, because of complications with the kidney failure, she was just in so much pain that they had her put down that day. So, Bear is gone. She was probably like the first like dog that we had that like, you know, wasn't sick. And like, you know, I've talked about our history with dogs before. Like Bear was like the first like real dog that like really felt like, you know, my dog, that I kind of like not really that I made a connection to, but like, you know, the first dog we got was she was 4 years old when we got her, and before we got her she was abused, so she didn't like any of us. The second dog we got was the runt of the litter, and she was very, very aloof, and she unfortunately passed early on. And when we got Bear, you know, she was like the first dog we had that really, you know, sort of like connected with other people and like the family and whatnot. So seeing her go was very heartbreaking. I wasn't even there for that. Like I said, and like, you know, I feel I'm glad that she's, you know, no longer in pain. But like, there's a part of me that like even at the cost of her like being in pain, I would have liked to have seen her one more time. But you know, can't always get what you want in that regard. So, past week's been pretty rough. I've been trying to keep up on content creation on top of that. But that's been difficult. I've been starting to fall behind. Some of the videos didn't have like thumbnails completed, and like some streams were maybe like shorter than others. So there was that. I guess moving on from there though, because I don't want to dwell on this too much. I'll always like remember it, but I don't want to keep on it. You know, I might as well tell a couple stories that I remember of Bear. She ran away when she was like 2. Basically what happened was my dad was taking her for a walk, and it was one of those like retractable leashes with like the plastic handle, and there was like sort of like a ledge that was like further up that so my dad lifted Bear up onto that ledge and then put the leash down and started climbing. Well, Bear went to move. The sound of the plastic handle on the leash startled her, and she just took off running, and like we couldn't find her for days. And we finally it was every day my dad was out there trying to find her, and when he did finally find her, she was like, you know, it was like 2 or 3 days maybe during that time, but like she was malnourished and basically reverted back to being feral. So one of the things that they say to do when you're looking for a dog is to take like something that smells familiar to them, that'll kind of like, you know, remind them of like where they came from and sort of like snap them out of being feral. So she took a piece of my mother's bathrobe, because she loved my mother. She would cuddle up with my mother all the time. Took a piece of the bathrobe, like found her, like, and she would like growl at it. She like when my dad got close, she growled at him, and then like he threw the piece of like clothing to her, and she smelled it, and then all of a sudden it was like just, you know, overjoyed whines and whatnot, and like we were very happy to have her back, and like that was very like, that was, we almost lost her when she was like 2. So the fact that my dad was able to find her and we were able to get another 11 years from with her was just incredible. I'm trying to think of like what else. She's had a history with other dogs as well. Before we got Sputnik, she was very friendly with the neighbors' dogs. Then we got Sputnik, and like Bear didn't know how to react. She had no maternal instinct whatsoever, because, well, she didn't have much of a maternal instinct because like she never had puppies herself. So like, I think she's the reason why Sputnik always seems like he's very, very like kind of like downtrodden and guilty and always like kind of a follower. But like, after like a couple days of like realizing this little tiny creature is part of our family now, and I need to protect it. And suddenly, like the neighbor's dogs became public enemy number one. Like after we a few days after we got Sputnik, like she was just like so aggressive towards the neighbor's dog and like saying like I have a family now. You're not part of my family. Get away. That kind of thing. So that was sweet. Another thing that I remember about Bear is that she would we would let her out to go to the bathroom. We had like a fairly big yard, and she would always come back when we want to let her out. And I think like sometime I think we had a deer fence up because we had like a bunch of gardens, and deer would just walk by and just eat everything out of the garden. So we had deer fences up so like she wouldn't get out. However, she would refuse to come back inside. Like no matter the weather, if it was super hot, super cold, she just like didn't want to go back inside no matter what. So at some point, like, or I guess like every time that would happen, I would go outside and I would chase her to either tire her out, catch her, or like herd her back inside. So then after a while, she kind of got this, like if I was standing at the doorway to let her in and she wouldn't come in, then the second I would step outside, she would start walking back to go inside because she knew that me stepping outside meant, okay, it's time to go back inside and I'm going to have to be chased around doing something I don't like. And it was only with me. If anybody else tried to get her inside that way, that they just couldn't, because like apparently like I'd gained enough of her respect to the point where it's like she knew that like it was game over the second I stepped outside, so she would just come trotting back in. She was so sweet. We'd play every now and then. I kind of like like give her pinches like kind of like how a dog would like nip at somebody, and like she'd kind of like nip back, and like that was a lot of fun. And there's like a video I posted on Twitter a while ago where it's like she would give you kisses, but you really had to like work for them. So I kind of like the video is like 10 seconds long maybe, but it's me going like, oh Bear, give me a kiss. Give me a kiss, Bear. And then like she like slowly like reaches up and like licks my nose once and then like withdraws, and it was just so cute. And on top of that, she was like a rather like rare variety of Shar Pei as well. She was a bear coat Shar Pei. Most Shar Peis have a brush coat, but she had a bear coat, which is like much more like fluffier, which I think I don't quote me on this, but I think they get that from their Chow genes. So yeah. So she like she was like just the fluffiest little thing, like I would pick her up all the time and she would hate it, but I loved it because like she was like so like fluffy that I could just like hug her tight and whatnot. And, man, I've spent 8 minutes like prattling on her about my dog for this vlog, so she was a great dog and she'll always be remembered in my heart. Anyway, in terms of what happened the rest of the week, it was mostly just me trying to get back into content creation. I streamed a couple times. I recorded some more videos. But on top of that, a couple other things happened as well. My computer started running slowly. Anytime I would try to load up something like Firefox or like I would stream, it would take like forever for anything to happen. And then on the streams, it would consistently drop frames. It wasn't an internet issue. It was just something having to do with how the OS was installed. So, did a full reinstall of Windows. Everything works fine now. Thank God. I'm so glad for that because, like, I was thinking, like, oh, maybe it's a hardware issue, like a RAM issue, maybe. I did, like, a bunch of diagnostics tests, and all my hardware is fine, so it wasn't that. And then what was the other thing I did? Oh, a while ago I ordered a FrameMeister, which is what a lot of people consider to be the best upscaler on the market. Basically, what that means is like you plug in something into either S video or like composite, and it'll upscale it through HDMI at like the resolution that it would normally be at. So I just hooked that up, and I haven't gotten a chance to test it out yet because I haven't played any retro games since I hooked up the FrameMeister. But it's already been so nice because like I've been able to get rid of like one of like the biggest, actually two things that I was using for certain recordings. I was able to get rid of a HDMI splitter, which was required to record PS3 and HDMI because of HDCP. And the other thing I was able to get rid of was a really crappy upscaler I had that would like whine, or like the audio like the audio would whine, and like the power wouldn't like stay connected to it, and it was awful. I hated that thing so much, but it was the only thing I had at the time. Then I bought, like, after that I had bought a capture card specifically for S-Video. But the issue with that was it was direct capture and it didn't have any pass-through. So I would still have to use the really bad upscaler to be able to see and hear the audio in real time and not have any sort of like delay with it. And that was still really bad. But now we're moving up in the world and I'm getting better equipment. That's partially in thanks to you guys and your contributions on things like Patreon. It's not the first of the month yet, so I won't do like the ticker scroll just yet. But I do want to, but like, you know, big shout out to all y'all on Patreon for your continued support. And another thing with Patreon, which I'm probably going to make in an update post later, is that I haven't had the opportunity to do the backer awards for the Silver Substitute and Golden Quagsire tiers because of everything that's been going on this month. So probably next month I'll get around to those rewards, and you know I thank you all for your patience and continued support. Whew, and with that, that's gonna be the end of my week. It wasn't great, but I look forward to a better next week because it's Christmas. Actually, considering that it's Monday, you all know Tim. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. Well, maybe not all of you know Tim, but y'all know. But like, just look up Nintendo Capri Sun tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and I guarantee you may or may not regret it. Anyway, week hasn't been great, but because of the approach of Christmas, I feel like it's going to improve. I don't go back to Connecticut for Christmas, and I'm not really doing anything for Christmas aside from working. But I do go back on the 27th to visit my family again. Also, sorry about like the noise. I'm fiddling around with the lens cap for this camera. Anywho, thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you all next week. Later.